Hello, welcome back to Typical City. This is your latest Manchester City news and transfer news, and it's very, very dry in the transfer news department for Manchester City. So, I thought it would be a good time to start looking at the rivals' transfers and let's highlight all of their spending because that's what they do to us. Every single transfer that we spend money on, it always gets rounded up to the nearest 10 million, and they include transfer fees, agent fees. Every single little penny gets added up when it comes to City. So let's look at the £210 million that Arsenal have spent. Let's start with them, shall we? Declan Rice. Now, I think he's a great player. He's a very good player, and I can't pretend that I wasn't disappointed that we didn't sign him. And we obviously pulled out of the deal. I don't think we saw already that they're making it about choice. Choice didn't come into it. He was left with one choice, and that was Arsenal. And that's because we pulled out of the deal because we didn't deem him worth 105 million. It is as simple as that. Now you've got rumours of him and his dad, like Jude Bellingham did, calling us plastic. By all means, call us plastic because I'm quite happy to be a treble-winning plastic club. I'm quite happy to be made of whatever material you want to make us made of. We won the treble. I couldn't give two solitary shits, quite frankly, but we can't pretend Declan Rice is a bad player. I've seen numerous City fans on YouTube as well as in on various forms of social media talking about, oh, we didn't want him anyway. Is he that good? He is. He's a quality player, and he's going to probably take his game to other levels next season. The one thing with Declan Rice for me is he misses that bite. I don't think he's got that Rodri and Fernandinho nastiness. You know, he seems like quite a nice guy on and off the field. So is he going to bring you down and tactical fouls and things like that? He rarely gets booked, you know, in terms of nasty players that you want to tactical fouls like Fernandinho, Rodri, brilliant at it. And I'm not sure he's got that in his locker, but we'll have to wait and see. But City fans, we can't pretend he's a bad player just to help you sleep at night. I mean, quite frankly, we should be able to sleep at night perfectly well. I do, no problem. I sleep right here with a Champions League, a Premier League, and I rest my head on the FA Cup like that. It's really, really comfy. And I sleep just fine, like a baby, no problem. But Jurrien Timber, just signed him as well. And Kai Havertz, I'm not convinced Kai Havertz is the answer to Arsenal's problems. Quite frankly, I don't think... He goes missing for me in chunks of seasons as well. I'm not talking about little bits in games. He turns up and he's capable of special things. That's the thing with Kai Havertz. But he also goes missing. And I think they've got a few of those players, Arsenal. Martinelli, same type of player. Incredibly special player on his day. And that day is more often than not, don't get me wrong. But that not is... It happens. He does go missing. They have players that go missing. And they've still not addressed the fact that they don't have a guaranteed 25 goals up front. Gabriel Jesus is not your man. If you want 25, 30 goals off a centre forward, you're not getting that with Gabriel Jesus. Quality player, and he'll get you goals in different ways. He'll get other players goals as well. That's what's so good about Gabriel Jesus. I loved him at City, don't get me wrong, but he's not going to get you those 25, 30 goals, and I think that is what they're missing. And keeping Saliba fit as well. Are they going to be our biggest challengers, though? Because we saw the emotional, flaky bottle jobs that they are at the end of last season. They capitulated, and it was pretty obvious that there is an emotional ceiling at Arsenal, and they hit that probably just after Christmas, just after the World Cup, with the celebrations for last-minute winners against Bournemouth. I remember that one as well. Like, they were celebrating hard and early, like they'd actually done something, because they didn't do anything last season. Last season was that they were forgettable. They're irrelevant. Absolutely nothing came out of last season for them other than hope for this season. And hope can only put so much in front of you. How much can you actually get out of hope? Because now you've got Liverpool, you've got Chelsea, you've got United. There's going to be other people. And City's point of view, we're going to look at them, we're going to hope that they all eat each other, and we can just benefit from that. As long as we keep doing what we do and beat them, then they'll eat each other and defeat each other and hopefully roll out the red carpet for another Premier League title. But that brings me on to Liverpool, and I think they're going to be our biggest threats. Just because they've been there, they've done that. Jurgen Klopp, They come back fighting. The way they ended last season was promising for Liverpool. They've addressed the midfield, which is that was their major problem. The nucleus of their team was just so flaky, and it was just very open. And Henderson was not. Fabinho as well. They were looking a bit leggy last season. Szoboszlai, quality player. McAllister, another player that City were in for. A little bit disappointed we didn't go in for him harder, because I would have liked to have seen McAllister. But their defence is something they've not addressed. Virgil van Dijk is not getting any younger. I think he looks like he's slowly edging towards being called pasta. Is he? I don't know. Last season he wasn't good enough. Gomez has got a mistake in him. Trent Alexander-Arnold. Are they going to be playing the inverted fullback like we do, with Trent Alexander-Arnold tucking inside rather than playing at right back and asking him to do more of a defensive job? They shipped goals last season, Liverpool. And if they can address that, then they're going to be our biggest threats. Because as good as the midfield it has improved, I'm still not convinced that then they're going to keep clean sheets week in, week out. So I think the fixture list as well is interesting, because who do they play first? Their start of the season isn't great. They've got first game away to Chelsea. So that could be a real platform for either of those clubs. Whoever wins that, what a stepping stone that's going to be to kickstart your season. Away to Chelsea as well. Away to Newcastle. This is all before the Christmas period. Liverpool are away to Chelsea, away to Newcastle, away to Spurs, and away to City. And that's before December even starts. So your title challenge could already be dead by that point. You know, if you're 10 points behind City at that point, you're in big trouble. We're notoriously slow starters, though, so they could still be in it. The promising thing is if they come through that, Liverpool, those fixture lists, if they come through that and are within a point or 2 points or even in the lead, then they know at the end of the season all their tough games are going to be played at Anfield. And that's a worry, because they'll have that end of season running knowing they've got their home games to play with the fans behind them, and it's a notoriously difficult place to go, Anfield. So that'll be interesting to see if they genuinely can maintain the way they ended last season. On to United, I'm not convinced. They're going to have highs and lows. I just feel like they are that team. Erik ten Hag is a manager that I think they've got a good one there. I do think he's a great manager. I always remember after the Brentford game last season when they had 4 put past them, I specifically remember Ten Hag asking them all to come in and do runs, like lots of 10-kilometre treks around the stadium, and asking the players to do that, but he was first in and doing it with them. I think that was a great mind game to say we're all in this together, and I think he is trying to build a team. Mason Mount, number 7, that's a very prestigious number that he's taken on there. Good player. You look at him last season, you blame Chelsea, don't you? If you're a United fan, you're looking at Mason Mount and saying, yeah, he was bad last season because Chelsea were bad last season. That's what they will say. There is a good player in there, undoubtedly a good player. I'm not convinced he's going to take United to other levels, though, you know, in terms of Premier League winning titles. Is that the position they even needed to address? Dusan Vlahovic is another player they've most recently been linked with. The Juventus man is a massive upgrade on Weghorst. Andre Onana is, for me, an amazing goalkeeper. We saw some of the saves that he pulled off against Haaland last season. He's a sweeper keeper. And I was so surprised to see him. I mean, did he have any other options with Henderson, though? But he kept sticking with David De Gea. He's notoriously bad with his feet. Saving with his feet, no problem. Actually playing with the ball and distribution. I mean, even his shot stopping just deteriorated at the end of last season. Some of the West Ham away in particular, what a floppy finish that was. Just like bobbled over the line. It bounced for about 7 or 8 times before it ended up in the back of the net. So I'm not convinced that David De Gea was ever going to be the answers to the way Ten Hag wants to play football. We saw Pep Guardiola come in and say, Joe Hart, you are not the man I need. You can't play ball at all. You can't distribute the ball. You've got to go, I'm afraid. David De Gea, same situation. Andre Onana is a playmaking goalkeeper and a sweeper keeper. You look at his heat map, he spends half the time outside of his area, you know, sweeping up and playing the ball in it. So I think they've signed a good one. Well, they've not signed him yet, but it sounds very likely. So I think that would be a great signing for United. Then on to Chelsea. 100 million they've spent. We need to highlight that. They've already spent 100 million. They have obviously sold Mason Mount, which was for 65 million. So Nkunku and Nicholas Jackson, that's gold. Nkunku's a special player. We saw him, he scored a hat-trick against City at the Etihad a couple of seasons ago. So there's goals now up front for Chelsea. They haven't re-signed Felix as well, so letting his loan end and going back to Madrid. For me, Pochettino coming in, that gives them a purpose. I felt like the players like Mudryk was never really given a clear indication of how he's supposed to play. He just seemed to come on and just run around like a headless chicken. If you're Chelsea, you're hoping Pochettino would come in and give every player a purpose and give the whole team a better structure that can build on. And it's their midfield for me, with the likes of Mason Mount leaving. Enzo Fernandez, absolutely quality. Don't forget how much they spent on him, by the way. That's 106 million right there. Chukwuemeka is the next, probably the best midfielder alongside Enzo Fernandez, and then maybe Lewis Hall. Raw talent, very good talent, but he's raw, inexperienced, young lad. I do think that Chelsea are going to struggle. There's a focus at that club of more balancing the books. Rather than football, it's all about balancing the books, and they're not really thinking about on the pitch matters because they spent so much money last season and flopped. Now they're trying to retrace their steps and fix what they broke in terms of financially, that their books are broken. They need to sell so many players, and it's going to hurt them over the course of the season because that midfield looks at its bare bones already. Who are they going to sign in that position is yet to be seen. So I can't see Chelsea challenging City for the not for the title. No way. I can't see Chelsea doing that. Spurs, they're the same. Maddison coming in. He's a good player, but is he going to take Spurs to other levels? I'm not sure. You've got the Harry Kane dilemma. Is he going to play at Bayern Munich next season? I'm not convinced he will go to Bayern because that Shearer record is so close. Even if he ended his career with just that is something to say at the end of I feel sorry for Harry Kane. I genuinely do. That how close he was to being a treble winner. Because, I mean, I know Haaland's coming in, it's hypothetical, but if we get Kane, we don't get Haaland. But there's no reason to say that Harry Kane couldn't, maybe not as many goals as Haaland, but there's no reason to say that he wouldn't improve City's team and probably more of a Pep-style player, because Harry Kane can play in that number 10 role and come and collect the ball and link up with Son. And that is something Pep would want from his centre forward. And he's trying to get Haaland to do more of that and add that to Haaland's game. But the age difference, you're looking at Harry Kane, who's 30 now, and Haaland is 21, 22. So there's plenty of years for Haaland to pick up those traits and learn from Pep. But Pedro Porro, Kulusevski's, they finalised that deal. Vicario, the goalkeeper, 130 million they've spent. Just to let you know, Spurs at 130 million. So don't talk to me about ruining football, because every club I've listed so far has spent more than City. We're probably going to break the £100 million mark ourselves, but we've only spent 30 million on Kovacic, and with Pedro Porro there was some kickback on that. There's James Trafford going out for 19 million. So net spend, we need to shove it down their throats, guys. We need to make sure we remind them that we are not the ones spending all this money right now, because they are spending to catch us. And if they don't catch us, they have run out of excuses at the end of the day. All that's left after that is Newcastle, really. I can't see anyone else breaking into that top four. Brighton, maybe. Tonali, a defensive midfielder. Eddie Howe's building a team that's very hard to beat. And with Isak and Wilson, they still got goals up for. Isak's a quality player. He's such an unusual player. The way he's very dangly in his long legs, but I'm not sure he knows what he's going to do next. But it's so unpredictable, and unpredictable as well. Saint Maximin, another player that's incredibly unpredictable. He definitely doesn't know what he had for breakfast. He doesn't know what day it is, but it's incredibly entertaining to watch. But the Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, and Joe Linton, that is a solid midfield. I mean, that's almost impenetrable. You got Dan Burn and Botman behind them, Pope. They're going to be hard to beat. But Champions League, that's going to be a massive distraction for Newcastle, a massive distraction. So you wonder if that's going to play its part. But Blues, City fans, who do you really think that we need this season? Because Gvardiol is clearly the number one target. Kovacic, but after Gvardiol and Kovacic, do we need anyone after that? And you talk about second season syndrome with a lot of players suggesting that they do better under Pep Guardiola in their second season. Calvin Phillips got his first goal for England the other night. Sergio Gomez, two players that I think aren't good enough right now. I would love for them to go and prove me wrong. I would love it. I'm still not convinced they're going to be good enough for City next season, but like I said, Calvin Phillips got his first goal. Sergio Gomez is the top goal scorer in the under-21 Euros right now, and he's doing very special things in that team, in that Spanish team right now. He looks like his confidence is growing, but it's stepping into a City side. Under-21 Spain squad versus stepping into the City squad. It's a step up. It's more than one step. It's 2 or 3 steps up in terms of quality. So can we have the answers already in our squad for some of these positions? Can Calvin Phillips step in? Can Gomez step into midfield? Because he can't defend for me. He can't defend. He's nowhere near good enough. And is he good enough going forward to usurp the likes of Foden and Grealish? And Palmer as well got 2 assists and a goal the other night. So do we already have the answers from players that were on the fringe of last season's squad? Are they already there? Do we need to go and spend the cash? It would be nice to go and add to the squad, but that squad won the treble. You can't forget that they won the treble, but you don't stand still. Standing still is going backwards, and we haven't. We've already signed Kovacic. It's likely that we're going to sign Gvardiol. So we are improving, and I do think it's going to be a hard season next season to go and win the treble. I mean, be realistic here. I'd be happy with the Premier League. I'd be absolutely over the moon if we just won. If we won one of those, the Champions League or I'd argue that the Champions League will be easier to win because we've got that monkey off our back now. It's a knockout competition. You need to turn up on the day. And with that quality of squad, turning up on the day is a lot easier job than turning up for 38 days in the Premier League. And they've always said that the Premier League is easier to win than the Champions League. That's the hardest one to win. I disagree. I think 38 games, week in, week out, and to do it 3 years in a row, and to go and do it for a 4th would be remarkable. And I think that should be our target every season. It usually is. You ask the local City fans, I think most City fans would agree that the Premier League should be the bread and butter, the target for every club, and we build on the Premier League from that. But Blues, get in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts. What are your predictions on our rivals? Who do you think is going to be our main challengers next season? Get in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Like and subscribe. Typical City is the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now, holding up silverware.